My name's Randy Thomas. I am the father of Zachary and Lindsay. They're going to be going on a trip with us. I'm the younger brother of Rick, and his three daughters, Becca and Abby and Jesse, are going. I am the son of Assistant Pastor Gary Thomas, and Rosemary's my mother. With that background, I grew up in a Christian home. My mother brought the three kids to church that was walking distance off of College Street, where we grew up in Lacey. And when I was, probably in the 6 to 10 range, my dad, who was happy for us to go to church but not a participant, had a radical transformation. When I say radical, he was a good, responsible father, but he decided that the Christian life was real, and so that became very real to us. Now, I was born in 1962, and for me, that was a pivotal time because there was a real change in Christian culture and thinking. At that time, a priest had kind of introduced into Christian thinking the idea of a pre-tribulation rapture. And as a result of that, there were some spin-out movies that were really kind of freaky. Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist. And so those sort of ideas spun off into a Christian culture. And so I grew up, and there were a couple of movies that came out. A Time to Run, I think, was one, and A Thief in the Night, that really scared me to death. And the reason it scared me to death is because I was a sinner, and I knew I was a sinner. I had a propensity to exaggerate the truth. I had a propensity to not be patient. And so I knew that I was not going to have an eternal destiny in a favorable location based upon who I was. And so I really had a salvation experience, probably in my pre-teens, early 70s. I walked the aisle of a Southern Baptist church, which is a scary thing to do when you're that age. And you profess your faith and you get baptized. And those things that I knew to be real from growing up and from Sunday school and from Christian parents really were galvanized. And at that point, I had confidence that that Christ was real and that what he had done was sufficient to bring me into relationship with him for eternity, and those that I loved, my family, was going to be there with me. And really, since that time, I had never, ever had a fear that that atoning work of Christ was sufficient. It was. And I lived an acceptably moral life. But my testimony is not a single event. It's a history, and it's continuing. There was another event that was probably really more developing in my life, and that is after my sophomore year in college. God removed something that was very important to me in my life, and but it was not beneficial to me. And luckily, that period of time, really, my best friend was an individual that had committed his life, and it was apparent to me, and in God's providence, that was my brother. And so when I came home from college, basically broken, my relationship with Christ changed dramatically from one that was depending upon him for salvation to one that I could depend upon him for every day of my life. He was able to fill those voids. He was able to answer questions. I was able to rely on Christ. And it was the most freeing experience. There's one where, you know, I was freed from an eternity in hell. And there was a second, when I was 21, 22 years old, where I was freed from this earth. And that is an empowering experience. So that is my testimony. It's not done, but that's my progress.
All right.